What's up, guys? Today I wanted to debut a new series that I've been working on for a long time, fantasy football videos. I'm not just some guy delving into this either. I watch as much film as anyone out there, and I've won over 1,000 paid fantasy football leagues the last 10 years. And I wanted to go ahead and share some of my expertise. If you're interested, hit the like button, comment below, and share this with your friends. Today, I'm taking an early look at sleepers at running back, wide receiver, tight end, and quarterback that I believe can be value picks in this year's fantasy draft. This is for people who do their drafts before September, as ADP is likely to change a lot between now and then. But let's go ahead and break it down. First, running backs go early and often in most drafts. So I wanted to include a couple of players that you can get after the third round if you decide to wait on the position. First up is Bucky Irving, a guy who could be an RB1 if things fall into place this year. Yes, they did sign Kenneth Gainwell, and that's a big worry as he won't get as many opportunities in the passing game, but I think Bucky has top 5 type of upside. A couple of other options in that similar draft range. Quinshawn Judkins, Brees Hall, and Kyron Williams all could be RB1 type players that you can get outside of the first couple of rounds. I would advise taking their handcuffs if you could get them later in the draft, especially with Kyron Williams. Try to land Blake Corum, a big sleeper, someone that I think is primed for a breakout type season. David Montgomery with the Texans. And you might ask, how is a player going into year 8 going to be a breakout? Well, because he's been RB2 for the Lions the last 3 years. He hasn't put a lot of mileage on his tires, and I think a lot of people forgot how good he can be. He scored 25 touchdowns in 2023 and 2024, and now he will be the lead back on a very good offense. Monty can be a very good RB2 or potentially an RB1 if you wait really long at the position. I love his value early this draft season. He's going a lot later than I think he should be. A couple of other names that are worth looking into if they slide down the draft board. Ramondre Stevenson. People get caught up in that rookie hype and they think it's all Travion Henderson. But Ramondre is a perfect RB3 type flex guy. And then I want to talk about former Cowboy Tony Pollard. Look, he is undervalued most of the time. Right now, he's RB1 in Tennessee. He's on an ascending offense, and he should get the bulk of the carries. There is risk there, but he has a chance to be an RB2. Over the second half of last season, he was RB number 11 overall. Now, there aren't a ton of sleepers at the running back position, but one player who I think could bounce back and is worth taking a chance on is Panthers runner Chuba Hubbard. He was awesome in 2024. But last year, he lost his job to injury and Rico Dowdle. Now he's competing with Jonathan Brooks and Trevor Etienne to try to regain that workhorse type role. Now, I do like Brooks, but he's coming back from 2 ACL tears, and you could even target him later in the draft as a handcuff to go with Chuba. But Hubbard offers the potential to be an RB1, RB2 type at an extremely valuable discount price. There aren't a lot of opportunities like that in this year's draft. Now, moving on to the wide receiver position. One of the top guys that I'm going to be targeting if he keeps going late is Rams star Devontae Adams. Yes, he's getting up there in age, but he led the NFL in receiving touchdowns last year and is going much later than he should be. Another guy I think is going at a value discount, Alec Pierce of the Colts. He should be their top option in the passing game this year. And if Daniel Jones can stay healthy all season, he could be a great value at his current draft range. Next, I want to talk about a couple of players who I believe have bounce back potential. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. The former teammates now both have a chance to be the top targets in town. Evans is in San Francisco and Godwin is still in Tampa. Both guys are going in the later rounds, but they could be very strong value additions later in the draft. And I think they could both be major bounce back candidates capable of going for 1,000 to 1,200 yards easily if they can stay healthy. Now, this year's rookie class could also feature some sleepers. I think Carnell Tate is immediately going to be the Titans' number one wideout. Now, he's a sleeper right now. Anyone doing their drafts early, I think they could get him at a value. But the closer to the draft we get, the higher Tate is going to go. I also like Jordan Tyson, Makai Lemon, and Dejon Stribling, too, if you miss out on Tate. They all have solid upside if you can get them late. A couple of other late round options at wide receiver, Romeo Dobbs for the Patriots. Yes, they could be trading for A.J. Brown, but I think Dobbs will lock down that wide receiver two job and could be a real value very late in the draft. Same with Khalil Shakir out of Buffalo. Drafters seem to have forgotten about him after that DJ Moore trade. He can still be a valuable flex option. And one other guy that I really like, Michael Pittman Jr. He's now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittman could still be a solid wide receiver too, no matter who's at quarterback, and he's going really late in fantasy drafts. Now let's talk about tight end. The tight end class is pretty top heavy, but if you aren't able to get one of those elite guys, you can wait. There are a lot of tight end two options, and you can grab a couple of them and hope one breaks out. A couple of my favorite sleepers this year, Dalton Kincaid, Hunter Henry, and Jake Ferguson. You compare any of those guys with someone like Dalton Schultz, and then you have two tight end options to use throughout the season. You can also monitor where guys like Travis Kelce and George Kittle go. You might even want to throw Mark Andrews in that list. They aren't the elite options they used to be, but depending on how far down the draft board they slide, they could be perfect starting options that you can get late in the draft. Now, sometimes they will go higher because of their name value. That just depends on your draft. But oftentimes they are falling down draft boards, so it is something to monitor. And then one sleeper I really like, a guy that I would target at his current ADP, is Lions tight end Sam Laporta. He was a top 5 option in 2024, but injuries slowed him down last season, and now he actually looks like a value in fantasy drafts. You could also bet on a guy like Tucker Kraft. If he can stay healthy for a whole season, he could be a top 5 tight end. Now, I'll briefly talk about the quarterback position, but I usually prefer to wait on this position anyway. The difference between quarterback 1 and quarterback 20 is a lot less than it is at running back and wide receiver. So I tend to let other people overspend on the big name quarterbacks, and then I grab a couple of value guys later in the draft. Target guys with high upside, bounce back potential, or players who are just being undervalued. There are some big names going late this year as well, though. Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, Dak Prescott, and Brock Purdy are all going at value rates this season. Other guys will reach and draft players like Drake May and Bo Nix early. I would much rather wait a couple of rounds, grab a couple of extra running backs or wide receivers, and then take my quarterback after other people. If you wait too long, you can grab two quarterbacks and hope that one of them breaks out, or you can even play the waiver wire. And there are even a couple of guys going way late in fantasy drafts that I like as well. Kyler Murray, he should be pretty good in Minnesota. As long as he wins that starting job with Kevin O'Connell, he could be a QB1. You could also target guys like CJ Stroud, Tyler Shaw, and Cam Ward. It's a great year to wait for your quarterback. But overall, fantasy football is a fun way to follow NFL action and stay up to date on teams that you don't even root for. Let me know if you're a fan of fantasy football. Please like the video and subscribe for year-round NFL coverage.